Spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the film, go watch it. It's on the channel, so pause the video and come back. If you haven't seen the film and still care about spoilers, you can skip to the end for my final thoughts and score. For the rest of you, let's begin the review. It's movie review time.
Briefcase is a 2016 absurdist comedy film directed by Camden Jewell and stars Camden Jewell, Matthew Simpson, Cason Farr, Riley Roberson, and Jonathan Rudd. The movie is about, well, a briefcase, one filled with 20 million buckaroos. A fight breaks out over who gets the briefcase and action and comedy ensues. This film came as a surprise as it was starkly different than the previous Cyderdime films. Not only different in tone, but also direction. The past two have been action thriller dramas, while this one seems to take the genre that Cyderdime had seemed to fallen into and make fun of it. It is both an action movie and a parody of action movies. With shaky cameras and action-packed stunts, the movie both follows the rules of the genre and pokes fun of it at the same time. This film is an instant improvement from Cyderdime's work so far, and there are a few key factors of why that is. So let's break it down, starting with cinematography. So, first thing that stands out about this film is purely the look. Just look at it. We can actually see the faces, it's crazy, I know. Joking aside though, the film is extremely clear and even has a sense of depth of field. Why is that? Simply put, this is the first Cyderdime film not to be shot on a phone, but rather an actual DSLR camera, and the difference is extremely noticeable. From the way the colors pop, to the lighting, most of the time. It really is a major improvement from the past films. Now, better technology is great, but what did the film do with that technology? Yeah, so I said earlier that the film was meant to be shaky since it's a parody of action films, which is great, but combining that with Camden's classic, let's just have the camera bounce back and forth instead of cutting technique, it really begins to wear. So the shots are either too chaotic or too boring, while rarely doing anything special. There are a few good shots here or there, but it's pretty much standard Cyderdime cinematography. Not great, not awful, just middle of the road. So the cinematography on the surface has majorly improved. It still retains a lot of the same flaws as previous Cyderdime films, but cinematography isn't everything. How about the story? The story is actually fine. Yeah, I know, first time hearing that with one of these reviews. The story is pretty basic and simple. It's pretty much just a capture the object or MacGuffin kind of plot, but actually it works fine here. It takes the genre of an action film and pretty much keeps it there, but unlike Home Invasion, it does add a few new elements. This film has a high emphasis on comedy and the absurd. Jokes like the guns going bang, 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 and the general acting of the characters really shows what the movie is focused on. Sure, it's got some awkward action scenes and is decent as an action film, but for all of its awkwardness and basicness, the energy makes up for it. The film isn't trying to be serious, and it knows it. In terms of pacing, the film keeps it tight and fast, but without being rushed. It doesn't end too short, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. In terms of characters, well, I see Ralph and Kevin have returned. We have, the killer is here as well. We have funny country boy and blue shirt kid. Okay, so there aren't really characters. I don't even think they have names. Their motivations are simple, but they all share the same motivation. They're split up into two teams, except the rogue killer who just kills everyone in his path, including the cameraman. So even though they're in these teams, they don't really work as teams, often splitting up and kind of just doing their own thing. But the story ultimately isn't about these characters, it's about the scenario, it's about the action, it's simply about this briefcase. And so in that regard, the film does alright as an action story. Nothing too amazing, but definitely not bad. Just once again, middle of the road. Now, the story is mostly around the action, but like I said, it is a comedy, and the jokes come from two places, dialogue and acting. Let's see how the dialogue holds up first. Now, if I had to choose one major flaw with this film, it would most certainly be the dialogue. Like I said, a lot of the humor comes from the acting, but the other half of the jokes are in the lines themselves, and most of them fall flat. There are some jokes that work like this. And although that could just be the acting making it seem better. This is where the improv nature of the film really makes it suffer. Most Cyderdime films are improv in terms of lines, or at least made up a minute before the shot, but in this film it's quite noticeable, and since they didn't take the time to think out jokes, most are just awkward and cringy.
Ow, my shoulder! Oh, I've been hit bad. Can't you tell?
This film also follows the rule of Cyderdime dialogue, which means it's pretty unnatural, which is fine in a comedy film, but these jokes aren't that funny. So if the lines written aren't funny, where does the comedy come from? Let's check out the acting. The acting in Briefcase is so far the best acting in the Cyderdime lineup. In the long run, the acting doesn't hold up quite as much, especially compared to its spiritual successor. Earlier I said the film had a lot of energy, and most of it is thanks to the acting. It's clear that they are just trying to have fun. They're running around, acting stupid, and for the most part, they don't care. From the way they talk, the way they move, their facial expressions, all of it is just over the top, weird, absurd, and honestly, hilarious. Now, as much energy as there is, and trust me, the energy is what keeps this movie going, it is clear the actors aren't completely comfortable in their own skin. Later films will show the same actors doing crazy and weirder stuff, and in those, it's really clear the actors didn't care. Here, it's like it's their first step into a larger world. It's the first time they were willing to risk looking stupid and just going for it. And that risk certainly paid off. The acting, along with a few other visuals and sound gags, is why Briefcase is regarded so highly. When the film first came out, it was moderately successful, although it went pretty much unnoticed for a few years. However, in its later years, just like much of Cyderdime's early work, it gained a cult following, earning more and more praise. The praise got so high that some even went on to claim that it was the greatest film ever to be made, that Briefcase was God's reason for cinema, that God allowed man to create cinema so that one day man would create Briefcase. And compared to films before it, I can certainly see why someone would love this one. It is a definite breath of fresh air after watching the other Cyderdime films, and it is honestly the first genuinely entertaining one. It's a great stepping stone for Cyderdime as it's finding its voice. Now, with all that high praise, surely I too worship at the altar of Briefcase daily and revere it for being the best movie ever, right? Well, not really. At the end of the day, it is a middle-of-the-road action comedy. It is most certainly a step up, however, in clear storytelling, clear cinematography, and a definite improvement on acting. A few of the awkward action moments, dialogue, camera work, and even acting, however, hold it back from being truly one of the greats. In the end, it is a great short comedy if you just want to have a few quick laughs and see who gets the 20 million buckaroos. I give Briefcase a 55%, which means it is truly a middle-of-the-road, solid, fair film to watch. That means in the official Cyderdime ranking, Briefcase is the new #1 Cyderdime film, finally dethroning the king. Thank you so much guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content and be back here for more movie review time.